Right then, lads, welcome back to the 90 More podcast. We are back and we're going to be previewing the weekend, game week 2 of the Premier League. We had a very fantastic opener. I think Arsenal, Crystal Palace, they gave us the real test to what the Premier League is going to be like. But even the other games were absolutely fantastic. So game week 2 has a big one, actually. Chelsea take on Tottenham Hotspur in the first London derby of the season. It's quite early, but I think in such instances, it's the better thing to do. So we're gonna be diving into each game, trying to preview and give you our thoughts and predictions on what we think will happen. Mustafa, Aston Villa open up with Everton this weekend. It's an early kickoff. Everton lost their opening game to Chelsea 1-0. I mean, no one can blame you for losing to Chelsea. Aston Villa, though, lost to Bournemouth 2-0. And now they're at home at the Villa Park. They have a chance to, I think, make amends. What do you think? Aston Villa, Everton.
Of course, being an opener, it's going to be a good game for both managers. By the way, they're going to be squaring off for the first time, I think, in their injury careers. They've never met before. But of course, before becoming managers, both players, of course, were England internationals. And we saw them perspective, of course, recently at Chelsea and also Liverpool. That is Steven Gerrard. But of course, Frank Lampard had the biggest percentage when it came to when they were meeting as players. But of course, as coaches, I think looking into this game, you earlier said that both teams, of course, suffered losses in their first games. But we saw Everton, that is of Frank Lampard, lost 1-0. Like you said, that penalty of Jorginho, of course, was of course. I think it was the only difference in that game. But if you try to look into how Everton was playing in their first game, of course, that loss, we saw Steven Gerrard. I think is one of those coaches that was lucky, of course, at Aston Villa, because he was so busy in the transfer market towards the end of the season. We saw him completing the transfer of so many players, the likes of Coutinho, that is from Barcelona. And do you think that he's going to be bringing in that impact to, in today's game? The likes of Boubacar Kamara, I think we did see him in the first game.
He's a quality acquisition. He's a very quality planner. I think they really did need someone like that.
Of course, the likes of Diego Carlos, we didn't also see him in the first game. And I think if they come back tomorrow, on Saturday, in that game, I think it's going to be a big addition to the squad. That is of Steven Gerrard. We saw him in last season. Of course, he was playing well, but I don't know what happened to the team. You remember towards the end of the season, Aston Villa, of course, diminished in their style of play. I don't know what technically happened to the team. Of course, they have not been so busy. That is in the transfer market currently. But I think we're going to see Steven Gerrard, of course, fighting tooth and nail to see that he delivers some good performance. On Everton, we saw them in the first game. They performed well against Chelsea. A side that you think maybe is also struggling, but Everton played well. After that game, we've seen, by the way, Everton going in the transfer market.
Yeah, actually, I don't think they had done. I don't think they had done a lot of transfer business by then.
Before that game.
Before that game. But now they're signing. I think they're signing Onana from Leo. They're also adding Gueye from PSG. They've also added Conor Cody from Wolves, which I think, if you ask me, maybe later in the season when we get to rank our best signings, I think Conor Cody, if he brings that kind of impact he had at Wolverhampton Wanderers to Everton, he will definitely be part of them. And I'm still questioning myself, asking, how have Wolverhampton Wanderers just gone, Conor Cody can't go to Everton? It passes me. But I think Everton have done business. They've done business now. They need a striker up top. They need a player up top.
I think it's one of the things that they missed in that.
Absolutely.
Like in that game of Chelsea, because they lacked a recognized striker. And I think, of course, the presence of Solomon London, because he's back. We saw him in training, of course.
Personally, I don't rate him. I don't think.
But at least he can do something.
He can, but he's not one. It's not a striker that I think gives them anything going into this season. I think it was probably not a mistake. Signing him was kind of a luxury. They felt like we have Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's gonna be doing so well, so we just need someone
like a backup striker,
like a backup striker. And then DCL went and had a very long-term injury. and they absolutely struggled. But they do have some names in there. Anthony Gordon, now he's been given a shot number 10. He didn't really look good in the Chelsea game, but I think he's a very, very quality player. They do have star men. They do have star players. Abdoulaye Doucouré caused the penalty, but that's no reason to doubt him. I think he's another important player for them. So for this one, I'll go Everton 1, Aston Villa 1. I think they'll pick up a point at the Villa Park. Gerrard, personally, he's yet to convince me. He's yet to find the right footing for this team. He's yet to find the form. He's been clashing with Tyrone Mings. He's actually he stripped the captaincy of him, and I rightly so. I think I agree with Steven Gerrard, because Tyrone Mings has been, as a captain, his performances have been absolutely horrendous. But he still needs a lot of internal cleaning and organizing and management to bring Aston Villa to where they want to be.
But of course, also, myself, I think it will be a draw. Of course, it might be 1-1 or 0-0. But like you said, I think Steven Gerrard has a lot. Of course, he has to do so much to see that maybe he keeps up that performance that he started with when he was appointed the manager, that is of Aston Villa. But Everton, I think this season, the fact that they just survived relegation, I think Frank Lampard has switched the team, and I think he's going to be doing well this season, not being in that situation that they were last season. So I think he will pick up a point in this game.
Both teams begin off in 15th and 16th in the Premier League table, respectively. Now, Arsenal will take on Leicester City. Arsenal won their first game. This will be on a Saturday, of course, as well, at 5 p.m. Arsenal won their first game of the Premier League against Crystal Palace at the Selhurst Park away from home. Now they come back to the Emirates Stadium in their first game at home. Leicester surprisingly lost 2 points, picked up a point against Brentford. But I think after leading 2-0, you've lost the point, especially when you're at home at the King Power Stadium. You've lost the point. But I think the argument around this one and the excitement around this one will be Youri Tielemans Arsenal really trying to sign Youri Tielemans, as now is now going to be on the other side. Yes. But also, can Arsenal continue their winning run, and will we see better football, just like they played in the opening 15 minutes of the opening day? Can we see that quality of football elongated? Can we see them trying to be more dominant for more periods of the game?
Of course, aiming to get back-to-back wins, like at the start of the season, and also clean sheets in those two games, something that has not happened at Aston, I think, for more than 50 years. But I think this time around, seeing on the quality that Mikel Arteta has on his side, that is of course in the back, because recently we saw in the first game how the back behaved, the likes of William Saliba, their performances.
You're absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, the likes of Ben White, that is in number 2. I think he did some good job. I'm seeing Aston, of course, at Leicester City, a club that you think has quality players, Leicester City. But of course, looking at how they've delivered, I think starting from last season, how they ended, and of course also in their first game, I don't think that they will put up some good performance. That is at Arsenal. We've seen how Mikel Arteta lined up his team. Of course, he has not added any players per now. Leicester City, the team that we're talking about, they have not added in any new players. And of course, last season,
they have no signings.
Even this season, they have added some players. So something that I think that is shocking at the club. We're going into this game when Leicester City, a few of their most important players, of course, currently linked in the transfer market, the likes of Talisman,
Maddison and Fofana.
Yeah, Maddison and Fofana, all these players. And of course, we may not even see them in this game. You don't know what can happen. But I think Arsenal, I think at the best of their pitch, we saw how they performed. By the way, one of those players that was not available, that is Vieira.
Fabio Vieira is also back in training.
Yeah, for the under-21 team, and he came back for the training. So we don't know whether Mikel Arteta will add him in this game or he will come as a substitute. But I think his inclusion in the game, whether he comes as a substitute or when he starts the game, I think it will be a big boost for Arsenal. We saw their midfield. Of course, it was compact. I think it's the only I think it's the only side that we saw maybe Arsenal is lacking some like a little bit, because they didn't play well. That is Thomas Partey and Jacques, and I think that's where maybe the coach has to end. But I think Arsenal are going to be playing well in this game.
And also I think it's a time for Gabriel Jesus to shine, because with all due respect, if you look at the goals that they conceded Leicester against Brentford, those are cheap goals to give away. I mean, you shouldn't be. If you want to lose the game, then you lose it in a respectable manner. If you want to lose points, you lose them in a respectable manner. They didn't do that. The goals they conceded were absolutely cheap. And I think Gabriel Jesus with Martin Odegaard and the likes of Gabriel Martinelli, they will be very, very happy to take it to the Leicester City and expose their porous defense. So for me, I think Gabriel Jesus gets his Premier League debut goal. Is opening. I think he will open up his account. He has not yet. I think Arsenal win this one 3-1. They will concede. I think Leicester do still have the quality, and we saw them against Brentford. If they defended better, they walk away with 3 points. Okay. So for me, 3-1 in terms of Arsenal. I think Leicester will score, but it's going to be a hell of a long season for Leicester City. It will be a very long season for them. Of
course, it will be a long season, like you've said, because I think I will remain something like 2 weeks only for the transfer market to end. They have not made any signings so far, and of course, they have lost players, and they hope also to miss some other players. So I think Brendan Rodgers, of course, is having a big job. That is at Leicester City. If he's to get some points, of course, like in top clubs like Aston. So I think, like you said, I think Aston will go like a 2-0 in this one over the weekend.
2-0. Now, Arsenal start this one off in third on the Premier League table. Leicester City start, game week 2 in 11th place. Brighton take on Newcastle. It's one to watch. It's one game that I will surely keep tabs on. Brighton, Newcastle. Brighton opened up their account very well, beating Man United 2-1. Newcastle, unsurprisingly, and I think this is what I expect of them, Newcastle. They should win games where they're expected to. And unsurprisingly, beating Nottingham Forest, 2-0. For me, game of the weekend.
Of course, it's going to be an interesting game. We saw Brighton. Most of the people thought that maybe Brighton losing some of their
losing Bissouma and Cucurella would actually massively impact them negatively.
Of course, but we didn't see that in their first game against Manchester United.
Again, we cannot judge early. Again, Man United shouldn't be a yardstick. I mean, honestly, I think Manchester this United is me being too harsh, but United historically, traditionally, they are a yardstick in the Premier League. But right now, they cannot be your yardstick. You cannot be you cannot be training to beat Man United, and you feel that that's enough. So Brighton, after beating Man United, we saw there were periods where United had chances. There were periods where United had massive, periods of possession. And I think Newcastle is a club that will try to possess in this game. They're the likes of Guimaraes, happy to be on the ball. The likes of Alan Saint-Maxima, happy to be on the ball as well and happy to break all the time. So I think the question in this one is, are Brighton that good? Yes, they beat Man United 2-1. They looked so good. Dan Welbeck making the best runs and making to the Premier League team of Pascal Gross as well. Had it, But the question is going to be, are they that good without Bissouma? And it is test too for Caicedo, for Mwepu, and whoever is going to be replacing Cucurella and Bissouma.
Like, I think we're going to see that, whether they are so good for this season, taking on Newcastle, a side that we see that was delivering well at the end of the season. Maybe by this one of the reasons as to why even their coach was awarded, of course, was given an extension in his contract. That is for almost 5 years. The club giving you that, I think they trust you.
They trust you, and it's no mistake. I think Graham Potter has been very, very outstanding, very clear in the philosophy he's trying to implement, and very, very clear with the kind of football he wants. And so many clubs have actually gone to Brighton and they've struggled. Even starting from last campaign, their football is absolutely wonderful. They are amazing to watch. So 5 years for me, he deserves it.
Like Eddie Howe, of course, we're going to see how he's going to be dealing with this team. And but I think due to the quality, of course, that we see at Newcastle, of course, they have not added so many players, but according to how they performed towards the end of the season, of course, getting to this club, I think they delivered some good football when it comes to middle teams like Brighton, the likes of Brentford. So I think in this game, Eddie Howe, he will deliver some good football, and I think, of course, Newcastle. To me, I think they will take on this one.
And then, are you surprised that Newcastle have not added as many? They are now looking at Emmanuel Dennis. fighting for him with Nottingham Forest. But are you surprised that the hype that they had before the transfer window has actually not been done any kind of service? I thought they were going to sign like 5 to 6 players. They've actually not done that. They brought in Steven Botman. He's a quality player, an absolute quality of a player. I think they've also brought in a new goalkeeper. Is it Nick Pope?
Of course.
Yeah. But how do you see them this season? Do you feel with the lack of signings, they will continue being the same side, struggling with relegation and everything? Or do you feel they have just made their mark and they're now competing for mid-table positions?
Yeah, like of course, due to what happened last season, of course, towards the end of the season, when we see Eddie Howe, their coach, of course, putting up a good performance, I don't see them this season struggling for relegation. But I think they might not be in the top 10 teams, but I think they will not be exceeding maybe like 15 positions. Maybe they will be in 10th, 11th, like something like that. They have not been so busy in the transfer market, but I think the system, or currently, as we see in the transfer market, of course, a club like Newcastle, we know they're one of the richest teams now. But I think their manager, Eddie Howe, is trying to take things slowly, but of course, trying to look into the market, some new players or some young talented players that he can bring on board. But I'm seeing this team, because the transfer is not yet closed, so I'm seeing them adding like maybe 2 to 3 players. And of course, even in January, you expect them to be adding some more players according to how the team would have performed. That is, of course, like between now and that is January. But I think Newcastle, I hope they are going to be doing some great work this season.
Both clubs kick off game week 2 in the top half of the table. Newcastle sitting 5th and Brighton 6th. I think they will have an opening debut, both clubs, to remember. But Manchester City then take on Bournemouth. Bournemouth won their opening game of the weekend against Aston Villa. They were at home. And they do have a striker that scored more than 30 goals last campaign in the Championship. Now, it is always hard to convert the numbers from the Championship to the Premier League. Many clubs, many strikers have actually struggled. But Dominic Solanke is one that, his value is undoubtedly clear. So, do they stand a chance? I mean, Manchester City did begin very well as well, beating West Ham 2-0. Erling Haaland already opening up his account in the Premier League. But Bournemouth is the key here. They're going to at the Etihad. They've already started their hardest, games, as the season begins. Do they stand a chance? Can they come away with a point? Can they use that kind of charisma they picked up from, beating Aston Villa, a clean sheet, against a Premier League side, and then come at the Etihad and, just perform wonders? Pep Guardiola said Manchester City do not start really well during the opening days of the campaign. Can they take advantage of that?
Of course, Bournemouth, like you said, they will come with that charisma, but I don't think it will be that is on the citizens Manchester City, because we saw them in their first game against West Ham, the game that we thought might be a little bit harder.
Yeah, it's one of the games that they dropped points last campaign, wasn't it?
Of course, like against West Ham. But I think this game against Bournemouth, a newly promoted team, we've seen what Manchester City have added. That is on their name. We saw Erling Haaland in the first game, what he can deliver. On a side like Bournemouth, who have, rated defenders on that Haaland that we saw, who was so hard on defenders, that is of West Ham. The one that we think maybe are more hard and strong compared to those those of Bournemouth. And of course, we've seen how the coach wants to play. That is, of course, in this. So I think it will be very hard for Bournemouth even to pick up a point. But of course, in this game, I'm seeing in Haaland, by the way, adding on his goals, maybe 2 or 3 in this game. I think that's why we're going to be seeing how he's going to be scoring.
Yeah, actually, I think these are the kind of games where Man City create lots of chances and they score lots of goals. They've always done it every campaign. Last campaign, they scored 4 goals and more in more than 5 games of the league. They're absolute quality. I don't give Bournemouth a chance in this one. I think they will pick up from game week 3, but game week 2, I think is a dead one. Yeah. But
they did some good work.
But and that's why I was trying to say that.
But I don't think at Manchester City will get any chances.
Yeah, they do deserve some credit though. They do deserve some credit though, coming up against Aston Villa and winning comfortably. and playing some very, very good football. They didn't really just sit back. They played, some good football. They challenged Aston Villa. But I don't see them as a match to Man City. I'll go 5-0, Man City. 5-0. And I won't be surprised if it is 6-7. I won't be very surprised.
Okay. By the way, I was thinking of a 4-0 maybe.
Yeah, 4-0.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But of course, like you said, I'm not surprised the Man City go for more goals. But I think we may see like Erling Haaland getting a hat-trick in this game on my side.
Yeah. Now, Bournemouth start this weekend in second. They won that opening game, like I said, against Aston Villa very convincingly. Man City also in the top 4 in fourth. The other game that I think is going to be worth watching will be Wolverhampton Wanderers Fulham. Wolves lost their opening game to Leeds United, 2-1, and typical Wolves for me. Fulham, they shared 2-0 with Liverpool, and they should have taken the 3 points home. Yeah. They were exciting. They were brave. I think the word to point here is how brave they were. They were very courageous. They played good football in the opening 45 minutes of the half. And I was like, in the second half, Liverpool is going to absolutely blow them away. And it was not the case. They came out in the second half. Paulinho, for me, you could say, had a performance for the weekend. They're number 6. Alexander Mitrovic already opening up his account. He scored 40 plus in the Championship last campaign, and now he's already scored 2 in the Premier League campaign. I mean, it has always been a question with Alexander Mitrovic. Can he compute those figures? Can he convert those figures in the Premier League? But Fulham Wolves is one that I see Fulham picking up the first win over the weekend for them of the season for me. They're away, but I see them win this one if they play as well as they played.
It's going to be a hard game for Bruno Lage.
Yeah.
The fact that he missed some of his most important players, for example, in the back, that is Cody.
Yeah, Conor Cody.
Of course, you do think that he's going to miss out this. They have not been so sharp when it comes to the transfer market. We saw their first game, of course, how they performed. You don't rate them high. Fulham, they brought in some good experience, of course, some good game, and of course, that their coach, that is Silva, you give him a big credit on
absolutely.
how he performed to Liverpool. Most of the people, maybe, by the way, I think even the fans of Fulham didn't expect this one, even a point.
Yeah. I had predicted Liverpool to blow them away. I thought it was going to be like 4-0, 4-1, because they've always lost that opening fixture of the weekend, and they've gone on to pick up results inside the season.
Of course. Yeah, but coming into this game, of course, like we said, we saw Bruno Lage, what he can do when it comes towards the end of the season, how he performed last season, of course, bringing in that experience as a coach, and also bringing back his players together. You would think that he will do that when it comes to this game. But of course, like we said, Conor Cody, they missed this player in the centre back, and they have not added any player.
He's been their captain. I think they've lost lost one of the reasons as why they were hard to score against last campaign, because their defensive discipline was one of the reasons why
And I think it's one of those clubs that didn't concede so many goals.
Conor Cody, and for me, Conor Cody was a key factor.
And I think it's going to be so missed. That is at the club. But they brought in a winger, by the way, from I think it was from
Valencia, Goncalo Guedes.
I don't know whether the coach is going to be putting him into this one, because like I'm well assured that he saw that game of Liverpool, how Marco Silva, of course, paraded his team, that is Fulham, the likes of Mitrovic, how they performed in that game. So I think it's going to be very hard for Bruno Lage, but to me, I think Bruno Lage will take this one. Or he'll pick up a point at least. Yeah,
personally, I think Fulham will win this one. I think they will continue. We talked about charisma when we were talking about Bournemouth. I think Fulham win this one 2-1. I feel...
Away from home.
Yeah, away from home. The charisma, this is where it works now. They will be full of faith. They will be full of, full of belief. And there will be too much for Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think Wolves will need to kind of reset, maybe play. I mean, they're not very, very many easy games, but they will need to reset so that in order for them to pick up their.
By the way, one of the things that I think maybe will be a booster, that is for Wolverhampton, if their captain that is like their former captain, that is João Moutinho, because he was not like in that game, like in their first game that they lost, but of course he came back in training. Maybe if he doesn't come back in that game, I think we shall see that is João Paulinho in the midfield, because that guy, by the I think he did so well. That is in that game of Liverpool. So I think if they miss João Moutinho, I think it will be very hard for them, like to put up a good performance.
And their double pivot was also another reason for their good performance. Neves and Moutinho. And when you don't have them, I think I was really not surprised when they decided that they will keep Moutinho. I was not very surprised that they have kept so far. They have managed to keep Ruben Neves. But I'm still very skeptical if they can keep him, throughout the window. I'm still very skeptical. But that one, for me, Fulham win it 2-1. So Fulham begin this coming into this weekend, sitting 10th on the table. Wolverhampton Wanderers sitting 14th. Man United, they lost their opening fixture to Brighton. It was a horrible performance. I think many Man United fans will feel we don't want to see that again, because so far it's the worst game of football we've seen. And Brentford surprisingly picked up a point against Leicester while they were trailing 2-0. They've signed Mikel Damsgaard, and not a player I rate so much, and I think he's going to be helping them with the chance creation where Eriksen is not. But United now are going away to the Bees. It's a very tough atmosphere to go to. Arsenal did go there last campaign at the beginning of the season. They didn't score. They didn't pick up a point. They lost 2-0. So, United, do you see them probably score, their first 3 points in the season against Brentford?
I think it's going to be a very hard game for Manchester United. The fact that we've seen them, of course, in their first game, losing against Brighton, they said that who thought
convincingly.
Maybe Man United, of course, may put up some good performance. Their issues have not changed. We've not seen any new player. We've not seen any player maybe going, and we've not seen even the condition of what happened in the first game, of course, changing. So I think this is going to be very hard for the coach. We saw him, we saw the coach, of course, in the first game admitting that, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo is one of those pivots that he has to start with when it comes to winning. But of course, the player that he's talking about has not changed, I think, his ways. We saw him, by the way, I think it was yesterday when they were in training, where he provided that quality of speed with the other fellow players. But I think this one, I think the coach is going to be doing some good job. Of course, in this one, yes, we know that United have not changed. Most of their players, of course, have not changed. They have not got those players that the coach wants to start with. But I think you expect United to be delivering some good work in this, because I know they felt that in the first game, losing to Bournemouth, even at home. I think it had taken so many years when Bournemouth had when Brighton had not even picked point at Old Trafford. But I think away, I think even last season, we do remember United at home, they were not performing well. But when it came to away games, I think they were putting up some good performance. So one against Brentford,
actually, they've had a better run. They had a better run last season away from home than at the Old Trafford.
So I think even this in this one, we may not we may not see so many changes at the club, but I expect Van Gaal, Ten Hag to put up a good performance in this game, and also expect by the Cristiano Ronaldo didn't start the last game. I think this one is going to be doing some good job at the work, and I expect even him to score at least a goal.
I think the question with Man United is what needs to change. Probably the players, the personnel at the moment is not going to change. So what needs to change with Man United? Is it the character? Is it the attitude? Is it the tactics? What do they need to change to have a better season? Because it's arguably true that in the last 3 weeks of the transfer window, they can bring in 5 to 6 players. But if they do not change the personnel, what do they need to do differently?
I think the attitude of the players, because we saw that, I think it was during before Mike Carrick came in, we saw how United performed. Of course, all of these players that were not performing well. Of course, when it came to Carrick, I think they were good, putting up that good performance. Yes, we all know that United is lacking so many players. Of course, they like a sharpshooter. maybe who will come in when Cristiano Ronaldo is not in. We know that they lack that pivot, of course, in the midfield. They have not got. But of course, we all know that McTominay is still there. He's a good player. Fred is there. He's a good player. They can do this. But I think the attitude of the players, because United is one of those teams. By the way, if you try to look on player per player, they have a good squad. When it comes to the back, of course, the likes of Rafael Varane are still there. They got new signings. Maguire may not be good, but they have so many variety of players in the defense. When it comes to the midfield, they have so many players, and even up front. So I think the only thing that has to change at United, I think, is the attitude, like of how players are treating each other, and of course how they see the coach. Of course, we all know that the coach is bringing in something new. That is how he wants the players to play.
Yeah.
But if they change the attitude, we may see, of course, also this changing.
They begin this weekend, sitting 13th on the table. Brentford are 9th. Talking about Brentford, I think they've really done well. They've lost Christian Eriksen, and for me, it is to their advantage rather than to their disadvantage. Now, I understand he was a key player for them, and he really had a lot to do with their good performance. But in my opinion, he's not a player that runs you throughout the 38 games of the campaign. And when you're Brentford, you need every game to survive. You need every game. You need every point you can pick up. So the fact that they have lost Eriksen and they have replaced him with a very young player, Mikael Damsgaard, for me, it's top business. It's absolutely top business. They've not really changed a lot, so it's pretty much the same army led by Ivan Toney that we are going to see. But I will not give them a chance, by the way, in this game. I think United, having lost their opening fixture, if it doesn't get worse, it will get better. So I'll go with United 2-1. I think they pick up their first win away from home. Ten Hag should be a little bit, critical with the performance and with the attitude, but we saw them in the second half of that game. They came on board. They tried to show the hunger, but it was still in bits. So probably weekend by weekend, they will keep on getting better as they get notes and try to internalize what Ten Hag is telling them. So I'll go with United 2-1, but I won't be very surprised if it is a goal-scoring game and it ends in a 2-2.
United will take on this one like a 2-1.
Like it's 1.
Yeah.
So United fans, you do have us predicting you to win. If you do not, then it means
they have ashamed.
Now, the biggest game this weekend is Chelsea Tottenham Hotspur. Chelsea did open up with a really not very convincing win against Everton. Jorginho on target. Tottenham Hotspur, kings of the opening day. Antonio Conte, that is exactly what he wants to see. 4-1 against Southampton, and Southampton led the game. Yeah, they scored early through James Ward-Prowse. But is this fixture too early? First and foremost, is it too early? Would it be better if we had seen it probably 10 game weeks later? Chelsea prepared and Spurs, prepared as well.
I think it's going to be the first big crash of the top 5, like the top 6 teams.
Yeah, and the first London derby as well.
Yeah, of course, and the second London derby, by the way, because we saw that Aston and Crystal Palace. Yeah. So I think it's going to be an interesting game, but it's going to be a test of both coaches. I think one, it's going to be a test of Antonio Conte. We've seen what he has tried to build. That is at Tottenham Hotspur. We saw what he delivered. I think, by the way, in this year, 2022, I think apart from Liverpool and Manchester City, Tottenham Hotspur is the other team that has collected so many points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like in this year. So we do expect a lot from the coach. What he delivered last season, and of course, he has been busy in the market, adding those players that you think the club needs. The likes of Richarlison, of course, being maybe a backup for
Hurricane.
Yeah, like for Hurricane, like also bringing in some players in the midfield and also back. So you do expect Tottenham Hotspur to be of course delivered this one, but it's going to be also a test for Chelsea, because this season I think so far they have not had such a big team, and of course also such a big test. Last season, by the way, if you do remember, Chelsea is one of those teams that are like has been giving hard time Tottenham Hotspur. I think even Antonio Conte last season was beaten, if you do remember very well. So this one is going to be a very big test for Antonio Conte. Of course, by the way, to me, I think if Antonio Conte wins this one, I think it will be a sign for us that it's going to be one of those teams that is going to be pushing between Manchester City and also Liverpool, because according to what he has put on board, you expect him to put in some good performance. When it comes to Chelsea, I think it's a bit difficult for the club ever since they changed the ownership.
That's the question I was going to ask for. Are they ready? Are they ready for this season? Not for Tottenham Hotspur, but are they ready for this season?
They might be ready. Of course, if you try to look on this one. By the way, one thing that we're forgetting, yes, Chelsea have not been so much busy in the transfer market, but I think apart from their two pivots in the back, I think those players are one of the players that we think Chelsea have lost, and they need to add in more players when it comes to that. So yes, they have added Koulibaly, but I think they may need a more other player. Yes, they also signed Chichuela, that is from Brighton, but again, you think Chelsea need more other players when it comes to their pivot. They might be ready, but I'm going to see them struggling this season, of course, to put that performance. We saw them chasing Liverpool and Manchester City last season. I don't think it's going to be the same thing that is happening this season, because we saw them in the first game struggling against Everton, a side that you think has not strategized well. So coming against Tottenham Hotspur, I think it's going to be there.
It's going to be a huge test to Ali.
But it's going to, it's really going to be seeing them whether they will be able to maybe put up a good performance in the UEFA Champions League, and also delivering what they had to deliver last season. That is in the Premier League. So this one is going to be a very big test for Thomas Tuchel's side, a side that don't have a recognized by their striker. So far now in their midfield, I think they're also trying they're not that well compared to what they were delivering last season. And when it comes to the back, I think this is where they have to change, and I think it's going to be a very big test for
So what are we looking for in this one? Because personally, when I'm looking at Chelsea Tottenham, I'm looking out for a top four clash, usually, especially in the second leg. But in this one, are we looking out for what exactly Spurs are about this campaign? Because I think it's a game that will matter more for Spurs than for Chelsea. Because for Chelsea, they'll feel we're still in the market, we're trying to add a couple of acquisitions, and we've done our business very late. With Spurs, I think it matters. We brought in players in almost each and every position and department. Now, can we keep ourselves on top of the table as other clubs struggle to begin the season? I think it's a real test for Spurs. They're playing a shaky Chelsea, but in the end, it's a North London derby, and it's a Chelsea.
Of course, like I said at first, that I think this is going to be a testimony, whether Tottenham Hotspur will be contenders for this year's title. Of course, we came into this league knowing that maybe if it's not Manchester City, it will be Liverpool. But I think this is the game that Antonio Conte is going to be building us. Whether who will be also competing for the title, or will also be competing for places, that is for UEFA Champions. But I think, like we said, according to how he has strategized his team, how busy he was in the transfer market, you do expect him to take on this one. Yes, we know Chelsea, like previously, you would rate Chelsea to take on this one. Yes, they have brought in some good players, the likes of Joel we talked about. Raheem Sterling is also there, and of course he promised to deliver. The likes of Koulibaly. I think you can't look at them. Maybe taking on this game. It will be a shock, by the way. They did in this game, but I think Tottenham Hotspur, the way out there, even their first game, we saw them against Southampton scoring those 4 goals. Not even goals, but the way they played. I think it was so well, and you expect them to take on this one. And of course, like I said, it's going to be showing us where the club is going to be this season.
I will surprisingly go for. Oh, probably not very surprisingly. I think Spurs, they're coming at the Stamford Bridge. I think we can't put that into the factors that probably could hinder their win. So I'll go with Spurs winning this one 3-0. I think Chelsea mightn't even respond. Listen, they struggle to create chances, and I know many. If we put on the table right now, Reece James versus Trent Alexander-Arnold, there are so many Chelsea fans that will put their life on the line for Reece James, but he barely creates. He's barely creating chances compared to Trent Alexander-Arnold. As well, that is the key problem for Chelsea. they do have the players. I think with Coquelin coming in, that means that their fullbacks will be a little bit playing, will be a little bit more advanced, both of them. But for me, I struggle to see them create decent chances against a well-organized, flying Spurs at the moment. They will struggle to create chances. I don't think they will score. I think they will have probably 1 or 2 shots on target, and that can be easily managed by Hugo Lloris. I think Spurs win this one 3-0. It's going to be a long day, a long evening for Chelsea fans.
It will be a long day for Chelsea fans, but I don't think they will be making 3. Maybe 2-0, like on my side. But like you said, we may not see Chelsea maybe responding. The fact that they have not got maybe that typical person that you think maybe will be there to be keeping the Tottenham Spurs back busy. Yes, they brought in Raheem Sterling, but I think he's not that straight like striker or straight winger. The likes of Kai Havertz, they lost Timo Werner, he went back. But I don't think that. Okay, they may not be so harsh to them, but I think it may be like 2-0.
Yeah. And I also think the other point for me is, can they deal with Kulusevski, Son, and Kane? And when you deal with them for around 60 minutes, can you then deal with Ivan Perisic when he comes on? Can you deal with? I don't know if Richarlison will be fit for this one. Can they deal with Richarlison when he comes on? Can they? I don't see Chelsea coping with Tottenham Hotspur's quality. I just don't see them.
I think this is the point where, of course, that is the managers of Tottenham, of Chelsea, will accept that they need some people, of course, in the back line. Because taking on such players, likes of Hurricane, the likes of Kulusevski, of course, what they have been doing, like we saw them in the first game against Southampton. I think, yes, they have Koulibaly in their back, of course, the likes of James, the one you're talking about. Of course, is that there when he goes in front, it's very hard for him to come back.
Yeah.
So I think they are going to be facing that. With Chichuela, of course, he came in as a substitute in the first game. We don't know whether the coach is going to be trusting him or putting him in this game. But I think this is the point where Thomas Tuchel is going to admit that he needs more people when it comes to the back, because you will know, and of course, everyone, even the Chelsea fans know that, of course, it's going to be very hard for them, mostly when it comes to their in the back. Those players, their speed, of course, actually, I think this is the point where Chelsea are going to admit that they need more people than in the back, and I think we're going to see a very interesting game.
Yeah, it will be very interesting. Spurs, like I said, are coming into this one at the top of the table. They have a very nice goal difference. They have also picked up 3 points in their opening fixture of the weekend. Chelsea are sitting 8th. They did win. They've not conceded a goal, by the way, as well. But I think there's so many clubs that scored more than 1 goal in the opening game of the campaign. Now the last game, Liverpool will take on Crystal Palace on Monday. Liverpool, after losing points, dropping points against Fulham, they now come to Crystal Palace. They are at the Anfield, so they are back from the Craven Cottage. But Crystal Palace are coming at the Anfield. Very stubborn, Crystal Palace. And we know that Patrick Vieira is one of those managers that have successfully instilled his philosophy, his identity, and imprint on a Premier League club. And Crystal Palace, are they amazing? They are. So, Liverpool, do they bounce back? That's the question. I think any Liverpool fan will not care how. The question is, do we bounce back? Can we get ourselves running so that by the time we are 10 games in, City, Liverpool is how the top of the table looks?
I think it's very bad for Patrick Vieira, starting on maybe those two teams that you think are going
Arsenal,
to be
Liverpool.
Arsenal, Liverpool this season. Of course, it will be very bad for Patrick Vieira, but of course, it's going to be helping him to know how his team is standing.
Yeah.
Of course, starting with those teams, I think it will be giving you hype on how you can shape up with other teams. Liverpool, they lost in the first game against Fulham. Of course, you do expect Pep Guardiola to bounce back in this one. We saw so many mishaps in their first games. Of course, the likes of Luis Diaz missing so many chances. Their striker, that is Nunes, of course, coming in and putting up a good performance. You do hope that this time round, the coach may trust him and bring him that is at the first of the game. But I don't think Pep Guardiola, of course, will miss out on this one. Yes, we saw
Jurgen
him.
Klopp.
Yeah, like Jurgen Klopp. We saw him in the first game, of course, struggling. That is in the first games. I don't know whether he thought that maybe Fulham will not be as such strong, because we saw him in the first minutes of the game. In second half, of course, he tried to deliver, pressing Fulham.
Yeah,
but
they
of
played
course,
better football.
like they were so much compacted. But you do think in this game you expect Liverpool to be starting. That is at the start of the game. Yes, we saw Crystal Palace in the game against Aston. They were very hard. That is in the midfield and back. But you do think?
I think their nature as a club is they work hard, they work smart, and they're a club that really understand what they're doing. And for me, when I say those words, when I describe that, that is typical Fulham. They worked hard, because if you look at their pressing actions against Liverpool, they were amazing. Almost 2.8. You know, they were really, really amazing. And then the fact that when they scored, they didn't sit back to defend what they had. They kept asking for more. That is typical Crystal Palace. So I think, Liverpool will be at home. They'll have the advantage. I don't see them win this one.
Of course, like I said, maybe Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp undermined Fulham in the first game, because you saw how they were playing in the first half. They tried to place Fulham, that is in the second half. Maybe, of course, when it was too late for them to get more goals like that. But I think coming into this one, I know Jurgen Klopp is well assured of how Patrick Vieira was playing last season, and we don't expect him to change a lot. He brought in some new talents. Of course, you saw some players, of course, that didn't deliver. He changed them, of course, brought in some new players. But you do think in this game, I think they will start on Liverpool. I think they will start on pressing. And of course, we know them when they place the likes of Mo Salah, the likes of course Darwin Núñez, like this side, of course, and also more other players. So you do think in this game, I think they will start on with the pressing, and I think Liverpool will get this one.
You think Liverpool? I personally don't see how
it will be hard for them.
Yeah,
but I don't think they will score more than 3 goals.
But personally, I don't see how they pick up 3 points against Crystal Palace. I think, Palace has been, I think we underrated it, but for me, they deserve the point against Arsenal, by the way, because they played very, very well. And also the fact that they've lost Conor Gallagher, and it doesn't reflect anywhere in their, in their setup. I don't think Czech Dokore has actually come in and, given them that drive, the same drive that, they were getting from Conor Gallagher. But they're just exciting. They're just strong. And because honestly, the 2 goals they considered against Arsenal are avoidable.
Of course.
That is the worst. That's the worst piece of set piece defending I've ever seen by a Premier League club. You cannot let your rivals, exchange headers in your penalty area like that. They need to work on that. And then the unlucky own goal from Mitchell. I think it doesn't happen every weekend. Liverpool have the ability to create chances more than Arsenal do, but for me, Palace will score more than 1 goal in that game.
Yeah, the fact that we talked about Liverpool create more chances like than Arsenal, and we saw the little chances that Arsenal maybe tried to create brought in some trouble. That is in their black line. So that's why I'm saying that maybe this time round, due to the fact that Liverpool create so many chances, and we saw what Núñez can do. That is when it comes to when scoring goals and also creating chances. This is where I say that maybe we might see Liverpool. Yes, it will be very hard for them, but we might see Liverpool taking on this one with something like more than 3 goals. Yes, they will be very compacted. That is Crystal Palace, but I think Liverpool may get so many chances of scoring goals. But of course, with that counter-attack formation, how they coach the pressing style, and I think they will be scoring goals. I don't know why, but I think in this game they will be scoring so many goals, like 3.
I've got Crystal Palace 2, Liverpool 2. I think Liverpool will score. They will create chances, quality chances. They will score, but I think Crystal Palace will score as well.
Yeah, 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah.
2-2. That is it from us this weekend. Those are our predictions and the previews. We'll be back on Monday to review each and every game and each and every performance that will have happened. Keep it 90 more. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and also drop a like on the videos. See you next time.